We are here live at the International Fuel Ethanol Workshop and Expo in St. Louis. I'm here with Charlie Scott, co-founder and chief revenue officer at Golgix. Charlie, hello and welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back at FEW. It's just as bustling as I remember, and excited to talk about what's changed and what's the same.
Yeah, me too. So Charlie, I think the best way to start would be having you tell our viewers a little bit about Golgix and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't seen the Golgix name, where have you been? I'm just kidding.
Right.
So Golgix is a production intelligence company, and what that means is we are both a software and a service provider to continuous process manufacturers, and ethanol and biofuels have become an increasingly big and important part of our business. What our software does is it helps operators and lab techs and managers make better, faster decisions based on the patterns that have led to great results in the past. And I think we talked a little bit about this last year on the podcast, but yield is still king in ethanol. And now, of course, CI is more important than ever. So we'll talk about a couple of those things. I'm the chief revenue officer for Golgix, so I'm kind of the commercial side of the business.
Yep.
And yeah, excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
Me too. So, Charlie, as you mentioned, you were at the FEW last year, and this was really when AI was showing early proof and real promise in ethanol. So, as you look across the industry today, what stands out as most different from where we were a year ago?
Yeah, I would say, I just asked you this question before we started, but you've done 10 podcasts. They've all been about AI. So
Yeah, a lot.
I think that's the biggest change. Last year, we were one of the only AI companies here. Now people, whether they're AI native or not, they need to be incorporating it.
Yeah.
And from our standpoint at Golgix, from last year, we moved from some really good early proof cases to now, proof and validation at scale. So producers, we'll talk more about this, are not just focused on fermentation anymore. This is really a full train, full process play. And by looking at that full process, you're not going to have any blind spots in basically helping your team align behind what drives better yield, what reduces energy and carbon intensity, and that's the result, and measurable results, I should say too.
Yeah.
We had an annual review a couple of weeks back with one of our clients, and it was just an incredibly validating moment when they said, "Hey, using Golgix, using your team, we've been able to increase our output and get a tremendous return on investment." So that's great news for us, but I think it's great news for the industry that we are seeing through how many conversations you're having, through our clients talking to other people. There's real proof, there's measurable return, and you got to jump in if you haven't.
Great. Well said, Charlie. So when you talk with ethanol leadership teams today, what operational and business challenges are most top of mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this brings me back to last year. Yield is still king. CI is very important with 45Z, and obviously that's a bit of a moving target, but we get the idea. We need to make more, and we need to make more efficiently than we ever have done before. And I think those are key top of mind issues. The other thing that's a persistent issue is people. Business is all about people, and while we try on the producer side to maintain the best team that we can, that small group of experts in our plant that we rely on to make reliably good decisions and drive our performance, they're approaching retirement age, and I think organizations are starting to think about how can we institutionalize that knowledge so that it's not such a heavy burden on that small group of people, and it doesn't present that same level of risk to our organization from a continuity standpoint and an efficiency standpoint.
Okay, so we hear producers talking about everything from yield and margin to CI and co-product optimization. Are you seeing any common threads connecting the priorities that matter most?
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a topic that we've touched on. Nitin's been on stage, who's our CEO. I've been on stage. Jessica's going to be talking tomorrow. Our common thread between these things and what we're finding is that variability is what's driving your performance. Every plant has hit a peak, or their 95th percentile of whatever metric that we're talking about, whether it's yield or ethanol concentration or whatever. And the trick is, how do we repeat that? Because today, when we approach a new producer, there's variability around kind of their average. And what that means also, and producers are realizing this and starting to focus on this more, they've already produced that result, that they just need to figure out what led to that, why. And this is a big change that we're seeing in the industry, is we're not as focused on what was the result or what was the peak. Why did it happen? How can we give our team the context and the guidance to go and repeat that peak? And that's how we are, and I think other producers are kind of moving towards, how do we create value quickly? It's not about let's go find a new seal. It is for our more mature customers, and we can talk about that. But it's about let's find what drove 80th percentile performance, 90th percentile. Let's do it again. Let's repeat, and that's good. It's good for business.
I actually moderated an ITNS panel yesterday, and there
I
was
remember that.
there was not an open seat. Like, it was packed.
That was slammed, and it was, for everybody's context, 10:30 a.m. meeting on the first day before the exhibit hall was open, which is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, standing room.
Speaks for itself, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so Charlie, as AI adoption continues to accelerate across the industry, what are the most forward-thinking producers doing differently today than their peers?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, and I kind of mentioned this change, last year we talked about some use cases about fermentation. Fermentation is upstream in the process. If you can drive down variability in fermentation, that cascades through the process, and you will see benefits at the end, at the finish line with yield. But just like any process with a lot of interconnected pieces, if you focus on a unit operation and not on the full picture, you're not going to optimize for the system. So the best operators now are not saying, I really want you to focus on this. They're taking a more objective view. They're seeing, what is the data telling us that we need to focus on first, in kind of an 80-20 type motion, to move the needle on yield, to move the needle on CI from an operating standpoint. And I think that's a really good focus for them. The other thing, and this is, I brought this up before, this is all about people, is how do we resource a team to take best advantage of this? And, that's having executives involved, and really clarity from the top to the bottom about what are our objectives. And if you can align, I've said it so many times already, if you can align on gallons per bushel, for example, as your objective, and maybe you have a couple more, then you're putting AI to work on a specific problem. You have consistency across the levels of your organization in terms of, we're focused on this and contributing to that. And I think just that level of focus is driving people forward. That's a very efficient way, I think, to manage and to point this technology towards something valuable.
That's a great perspective. Across plants achieving the strongest results, Charlie, what patterns or lessons seem to be emerging the most consistently?
Yeah, this might be a little bit redundant, I guess. Aligning on those key KPIs is the first step, and really focusing on variability instead of the peak. I think we see time and time again, that's a huge difference between last year and this year, by the way, as the market becomes a little bit more mature and realizes that, hey, AI isn't this magic wand or light switch that I switch on. This is really a technology that learns over time. And I think achieving the strongest results with AI requires an investment of your team's time to interact with the technology and interact with your service provider. Like, we meet with our clients on a weekly basis to make sure that they're squeezing as much value out of the technology as they can, but to also make sure that our technology is capturing the context of the decisions that they're making. So on a weekly basis, we are going through, where did we perform well? Where are opportunities for improvement? What should we try to implement? And we'll get feedback from the team about, like, hey, this doesn't work in our process for whatever reason. The technology learns that. Hey, we performed really well last week with this combination of settings and dosing and whatever. The technology learns from that. So every week Now your organization, your plant is building a memory. It's building knowledge, and that's a real transition that I think where we're going as an industry is we need to transition for a variety of reasons from knowledge that lives with individuals to knowledge that stays with the plant, knowledge that stays with an organization. And this is a tool that progressively and organically lets you capture knowledge about what works and what doesn't as you go, instead of trying to sit down and map all of this out like the way we used to make an SOP.
Fascinating. Okay, my last question. As leadership teams look to remain competitive over the next several years, where do you think AI fits into that conversation today?
Yeah, I think competitive is the right word. This is no longer a nice to have technology. This is very, very important to the discussion that we were just having. You know, right now, you're relying on 2 or 3 people at your plant to keep it running really sharp. Shouldn't your organizational knowledge live with the plant and with the organization? And you know, then you're investing in kind of growing something valuable. I think enterprise value really rises with that. I think that long-term value depends more on disciplined execution in terms of maintaining focus on what really matters than the technology itself. This really is about we need to drive adoption. We need to lean on this technology so it learns and gets better and more contextualized to our environment. And that's how we cut variability out of the process. And then I'll just mention for those clients that have been with us now for a few years, they've successfully been able to cut a lot of variability from their process. They've moved up to being able to repeat that 90th percentile, which was, when we started, it was their 90th percentile. Now that's their average. So what do they do now? These customers are now using this technology as a capability to test and learn faster than they ever have before. They're running 3 times more tests than they have before. So think about, now you have stability, you don't have a lot of noise around the process, you can sensitivity test with a lot more efficacy and speed than you ever could before. And I think that's allowing our kind of the producers we love working with, who've really leaned in this technology to find a new ceiling.
So interesting. Always a fascinating discussion with you, Charlie. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap things up?
My goodness. Well, if you're here at FEW, I know that you're having a good time, but if you find time, come see us at booth 419. We'll be at a variety of other events this year, but again, we look forward to this one. We're excited to be back with you guys next year. If you want to learn more about Golgix, please visit us at Golgix, Golgix.com. We'd love to set up a conversation with you and learn more about your organization and how we can help.
Thanks so much, Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
And to our viewers, thanks so much for tuning in. Charlie Scott with Golgix. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time.